It was a quiet night on the edge of the forest. The moon was bright and the air was cold enough to make Eli's breath look like smoke. He lived alone in a small wooden cabin far from the nearest town. The world outside was silent, except for the sound of crickets and the wind moving through the trees. Eli sat by the fire, drinking from an old metal cup. He liked nights like this, peaceful, still empty. But that peace ended when the lights came. At first, he thought it was lightning. A flash of blue lit up the trees, followed by a low humming sound that made the windows shake. Eli stood, heart pounding. The light didn't fade, it grew brighter, pulsing like something alive. He went to the window and stared into the forest. The blue light was moving, sliding between the trees like fog. Then something screamed, a sound that wasn't human. It was sharp, scared, and full of pain. Eli grabbed his flashlight and stepped outside. The air felt strange, heavy, almost electric. He walked slowly toward the forest, shining the light ahead. "Hello?" he called. "Is someone there?" There was no answer. Only the faint crackle of static in the air. Then he saw it, a small figure lying near the edge of the trees. It was curled up on the ground, shaking. Eli rushed forward and knelt beside it. For a moment he thought it was a child. But then he saw the skin, silver blue, glowing softly in the dark. The figure looked up. Two large eyes, bright as stars, stared at him. Its voice was small and trembling. "Help me." "Human." Eli froze. The words were clear, but the voice didn't sound natural. It had an echo, like many voices speaking as one. "My parents, they were killed today," the creature whispered. "Can I stay here?" Eli stared at the alien child, trying to understand what he was hearing. Its arms were thin, and a strange light was leaking from a wound on its shoulder. Not blood, light like liquid energy. "Who are you?" Eli asked. "My name is Kale," the creature said. "Please, they will find me." "They are coming." "Who's coming?" Before Kale could answer, the forest filled with a new sound, deep, rumbling, mechanical. Eli looked up and saw shadows moving between the trees. Shapes, tall, armored, glowing red. "Hide," Eli said quickly. "Come with me." Kyle stumbled to his feet, weak but fast. Eli led him back to the cabin and pushed him inside. The humming outside grew louder. It sounded like engines, like a machine searching. He pulled a rug aside and opened the trapdoor that led to his basement. "Down there," he whispered. Kyle crawled inside just as lights swept across the windows. Eli closed the trapdoor and threw the rug back over it. Then he grabbed his old rifle and stood near the door. His heart was racing so fast it hurt. Through the cracks he saw them. 3 tall figures in black armor, their helmets glowing red. They moved with strange grace, not like soldiers but like hunters. Their weapons buzzed with energy. Eli held his breath. The sound of metal boots thudded across his porch. One of the soldiers spoke, but the words were not human, sharp, clicking, alien. A scanner beam passed across the cabin walls, humming softly. Then silence. Eli didn't move. He could hear his heartbeat echo in his ears. Minutes passed. Then slowly the humming faded. The red light outside dimmed. The shadows moved away. He waited a full minute before lowering his gun. Carefully he lifted the rug and opened the trapdoor. "It's okay," he whispered. "They're gone." Kyle climbed up, shaking. His eyes were wet, glowing brighter when he was afraid. "They will come again," he said. "They never stop." Eli sat down on a chair, still breathing hard. "What do they want from you?" Kale hesitated, then reached into his clothes. He pulled out a small metal orb no bigger than a stone. It pulsed with soft blue light. "They want this," Kale said quietly. "It is what my parents died for." Eli leaned forward. The light from the orb reflected in his eyes. "What is it?" "It is power," Kale whispered. "And danger." The hum returned, distant but closer than before. Kale's face went pale. "They found us," he said. Eli stood quickly, grabbing his gun again. The walls trembled as another blue flash filled the forest. "Hide," Eli said again, voice firm this time. "Hide, Kyle, they're coming for you." Kyle looked at him with fear and trust mixed in his glowing eyes. "If they find me," he whispered, "they will destroy everything." Eli looked out the window. The forest was alive with lights again, red and blue twisting together like fire and storm. He didn't understand what was happening, but he knew one thing. Whatever Kale was, whatever he carried, it had brought death to his door, and it was only the beginning. The forest was no longer quiet. Blue and red lights moved between the trees like ghosts. The air shook with the sound of engines and metal wings. Eli's cabin, once peaceful and alone, now stood in the middle of a silent war he didn't understand. He looked at Cale, who sat near the basement door, clutching the glowing orb to his chest. The alien child's silver-blue skin flickered like a dying flame. "They will come again," Kyle said softly. "They never stop once they find the scent." Eli's hands were shaking as he loaded bullets into his old rifle. "Who are they?" he asked. "The Draxen," Cale whispered. "Hunters from the dark worlds. They kill and take what they want. My parents said they fear nothing except this." He held up the orb. The light inside swirled like a storm. Eli frowned. "You mean they killed your parents for that thing?" Cale nodded slowly, eyes glowing with sadness. "My parents were scientists. They worked to protect life, not destroy it. But the Draxen wanted them to build a weapon that could burn a whole planet in one breath." Eli sat down across from him, trying to understand. "And they refused?" "Yes," Cale said. "So they died." A long silence followed. Outside, a wind moved through the forest, carrying faint mechanical sounds like distant breathing. Eli looked toward the window. "They're still searching." Cale's small hands tightened around the orb. "They can smell energy. The orb gives off a signal. I tried to turn it off, but it listens only to those who are chosen." "Chosen?" Eli asked. Kyle looked up, eyes full of strange light. "It does not belong to me. It belongs to Earth now." Eli frowned. "To Earth?" Before he could ask more, a loud crash echoed outside. The front wall shook, dust falling from the ceiling. Something heavy landed on the roof. Eli jumped up and motioned Cale toward the basement. "Hide," he whispered. Cale crawled back under the trapdoor. Eli threw the rug over it just as a large shadow passed across the window. A red beam swept through the room, burning across the furniture. Eli crouched beside the door, holding his breath. The door burst open. A Draxen soldier stepped inside. He was taller than any man Eli had ever seen, covered in dark armor that shimmered like oil. His helmet had red slits for eyes, and a long breathing tube hissed with every exhale. Eli froze. The soldier scanned the room with a glowing device. Its light stopped near the floor, exactly where the rug lay. The soldier took one slow step closer. Eli acted on instinct. He swung the rifle like a bat, hitting the scanner from the soldier's hand. It hit the wall and exploded in sparks. The Draxen roared, turning toward him. Eli fired. The bullet hit the alien's chest, but only made the armor spark. The soldier backhanded him hard, throwing him across the room. Eli's vision blurred. He reached for his rifle again, but the alien grabbed it and crushed it in one hand. "Human," the Draxen hissed in broken words. "You hide." The child, Eli spat blood, breathing hard. "I don't know what you're talking about." The Draxen raised its weapon, a glowing spear humming with power. But before it could strike, a bright flash burst from under the rug. The orb. It had activated on its own. Blue light filled the room, bending the air like heat waves. The soldier stumbled back, roaring as his armor melted in lines of light. Cale climbed out from the trapdoor, holding the orb high. "Leave him," he shouted, his voice echoing like thunder. The Draxen took one look at the glowing sphere and fled through the broken door, disappearing into the forest. The light slowly faded. Smoke filled the cabin. Eli coughed and sat up. What was that?" Cale looked weak, his body dimming. "The orb protects itself when the chosen are near danger. But it uses energy, mine." Eli looked at him worried. "You need rest," Cale nodded. "But we must leave. They will come again and they will not stop." Eli looked around at his destroyed home. The walls cracked, the roof torn, the air still humming with energy. He thought about running, but where could they go? "Where do we go now?" he asked. Cale lifted his eyes toward the night sky, where faint shapes of ships floated above the clouds. Somewhere they cannot see, somewhere under the ground. Eli took a deep breath. "There's an old mine in the East Hills," he said. "Abandoned for years. Maybe we can hide there." Cale nodded weakly. "We must go before the next sunrise." Eli helped him stand, wrapping a blanket around his small, glowing shoulders. The boy looked fragile, almost transparent in the moonlight. As they stepped outside, Eli looked back one last time at his cabin. It was burning slowly, pieces of his quiet life turning to ash. Cale whispered, "They will not stop. Eli, the Draxen always return." Eli looked at him and said quietly, "Then we'll make sure they regret it." Behind them, in the dark forest, red lights blinked once more, silent eyes of hunters who never sleep. And somewhere above the clouds, a deep voice whispered through static, "Target located. Continue the hunt." The forest was still burning when dawn came. Smoke drifted through the trees like fog, and the air smelled of metal and fire. Eli and Cale moved quickly through the shadows, keeping low, trying not to leave footprints in the soft dirt. Eli's heart was still racing from the night before. Every sound made him jump. The breaking of a twig, the cry of a bird, the wind brushing the leaves. He carried a small backpack filled with food, water, and a flashlight. Cale walked beside him, quiet and pale, holding the glowing orb close to his chest. "Are you sure you can walk?" Eli whispered. Cale nodded weakly. "I will survive. My body heals from light. When the sun rises fully, I will be stronger." Eli looked at him amazed. The child was not like anything he'd ever seen. His skin shimmered faintly, and when sunlight touched him, faint silver lines ran beneath his skin like rivers of energy. They followed an old trail that led deeper into the woods, away from the burning cabin. Far in the distance, engines still hummed, the Draxen ship scanning the forest, searching. "They're still out there," Eli said. "They will not stop," Cale replied softly. "The Draxen always finish the hunt." Eli frowned. "Then we need to stay ahead of them. The old mine is still a few miles away." Cale looked up at the sky. They search from above. But the forest is old. It hides things not even they can see. Eli didn't understand, but he didn't ask. Every second mattered. As they moved deeper, the trees grew taller, darker. Strange patterns appeared on the trunks, lines that shimmered faintly, almost like alien writing. Eli brushed his fingers over one of them. It glowed for a moment, then faded. "Kyle," he whispered. "What is this?" Cale stopped. His eyes widened. "These are marks of the old pact," he said quietly. "Long ago, my kind and yours shared this world." Eli blinked. "Shared it? You mean aliens were here before?" Cale nodded. "Yes, before your history began. We built things beneath the earth. Safe places. Secret places." Eli felt a chill. Then maybe that mine isn't just a mine. Kyle didn't answer, but his expression said enough. By midday, they reached a river. The water was shallow, moving fast over dark stones. Eli filled his bottle while Cale crouched by the edge, dipping his hands into the current. The water shimmered where it touched him, glowing faintly. Suddenly, Cale froze. His eyes went wide. "They are close." Eli looked up. The sound came seconds later, a low roar, followed by a streak of red light cutting through the sky. A Draxen drone. It hovered above the trees, scanning with a red beam that swept across the riverbank. "Run!" Eli shouted. They dashed into the trees as the drone scanner passed over the river. The air shook as it fired a pulse blast. Trees exploded behind them, dirt flying into the air. Eli grabbed Cale's arm and pulled him toward a rocky hill. "Up there!" They climbed fast, slipping on the wet rocks. The drone followed, humming like an angry hornet. Cale stopped suddenly and turned around. "Cover your eyes!" Eli ducked. Cale raised the orb and a blinding flash erupted from it. The drone shrieked as its sensors fried, spiraling down into the river below. It exploded in a burst of red fire. When the light faded, Eli looked back at Cale. The boy was shaking, pale and exhausted. "You used it again," Eli said. "You're hurting yourself." Kyle nodded weakly. "The orb takes my energy. But it listens when I ask," Eli sighed. "Let's move before more of them come." By nightfall, they reached the mouth of the old mine. The entrance was covered in vines and broken wood beams. It looked abandoned for decades. Eli pushed the old boards aside and helped Cale inside. The air was cold and thick with dust. Their footsteps echoed softly as they went deeper. "This will keep us hidden," Eli said. Kyle looked uneasy. "There is power here. I can feel it. The ground remembers." "What do you mean?" Cale touched the wall. The stone lit up with faint blue symbols, the same ones Eli had seen on the trees. "This place was built by the First Alliance," Cale whispered. "My people and yours long ago, before time forgot." Eli stared at the glowing walls. "So the Draxen came to destroy all of this?" "Yes," Cale said. "They fear what was once united. They want all life to kneel." A rumble shook the tunnel. Dust fell from the ceiling. Eli pulled Cale back. "They found us," Eli said. Cale's eyes widened. "No, this sound is not them." From deep within the mine, a low hum began to rise, slow, powerful, and ancient. The walls pulsed with light, the symbols glowing brighter. Eli stepped back, fear mixing with awe. "What is happening?" Kyle stared into the darkness ahead. "Something is waking up." Behind them, far outside, the Draxen ships circled the sky. Their scanners locked onto the mine entrance. The hunt wasn't over. It had only just begun. The tunnel grew darker as they went deeper. Eli held his flashlight in one hand, the beam trembling against the rough stone walls. Cale walked beside him, one hand pressed against the glowing orb. The soft blue light from it made the air shimmer. The sound from deep within the mine hadn't stopped. It was low and rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat under the earth. "Are you sure this place is safe?" Eli whispered. Kyle looked uneasy. "Safe? I don't know. But I can feel something old. Something that remembers." Eli didn't like the way that sounded. The deeper they went, the stronger the strange hum became. It wasn't just sound. It was inside their chests, moving through their bones. The tunnel widened into a large underground hall. The walls here were smooth, carved with perfect shapes, circles, lines, and strange patterns that glowed faintly when the orb came close. Eli lifted his flashlight, his mouth hanging open. "This isn't a mine," he said slowly. "It's a building." Kyle nodded. "Not human. It was built before your history began. My people called these places the shelters of the Pact." "The Pact?" Eli asked. Cale looked around the glowing hall. "Long ago, before your species forgot, humans and my ancestors stood together. The Draxen were born from war. The Pact built these shelters to hide from them. To protect something precious," Eli swallowed. "Protect what?" Kyle turned toward a wall filled with ancient writing. "The seed." The orb in his hands pulsed brighter as if it had heard the name. Blue light spread across the stone like veins of lightning. Suddenly, the ground shook. A section of the wall slid open with a grinding sound, revealing a long corridor beyond. Eli stepped back, startled. "What did you do?" "I didn't do anything," Kyle said softly. "It opened for you." "For me?" Eli frowned. "Why me?" Cale's silver eyes met his. "Because you are human. The Pact's first rule: only a human heart can awaken the old paths." Eli stared at the glowing corridor. It looked like it stretched forever, deeper into the earth. "Then let's see where it leads," he said finally. They followed the corridor until it opened into another chamber, larger, brighter, and colder. In the center stood a tall metallic structure shaped like a crystal tower. Inside it something glowed, a sphere of pure white light floating in the air. Cale's eyes widened. The seed. Eli stepped closer, drawn by its beauty. The air around it felt alive, humming with warmth and energy. When he raised his hand, the light brightened as if it recognized him. "It knows you," Kyle whispered. "It has waited." Eli turned to him. "Waited for what?" Cale didn't answer. His face looked troubled. "If the seed wakes completely, it will send a signal. The Draxen will feel it. They will come." Eli lowered his hand slowly. "Then we can't let that happen." But before either could move, the orb in Cale's hand started glowing again, brighter than before. A voice filled the chamber, deep and echoing, not human. "Identity confirmed. Descendant of the first Pact detected." Eli spun around, heart racing. What was that? The light above the seed shifted, forming the shape of a tall figure, not made of flesh but of light and energy. Its face was smooth and featureless, yet its presence filled the room with power. "I am the Guardian," the voice said. "Protector of the seed, keeper of the Pact." Kyle bowed his head. "We seek shelter," he said softly. "The Draxen are near." The Guardian turned its glowing head toward Eli. "The Draxen return to erase what remains of unity. You human are bound to the seed, the old promise flows in your blood." Eli stared, frozen. "Bound? What are you talking about?" "The first humans helped create the seed," the Guardian said. "Their descendants carry the right to awaken it again." Cale looked at Eli, amazed. "You are part of them," he said. "That's why it opened for you." The Guardian's light flickered. "The Draxen approach. Their engines burn the surface. If they reach the chamber, the seed will fall." Eli clenched his fists. "Then tell us what to do." The Guardian's voice grew deeper. "The seed must be protected. Its power can restore the worlds that were lost, or end them all." A distant explosion shook the ground. Dust rained from the ceiling. "They've found the entrance," Eli shouted. Kyle raised the orb, its glow matching the Guardian's light. "Can you stop them?" he asked. The Guardian's eyes blazed. "I will delay them, but the Pact must live again." The crystal walls began to shift and close around the seed. The Guardian turned back to Eli. Take the orb. Go deeper. Beyond this chamber lies the heart of memory. There, truth waits. Eli nodded and grabbed Cale's arm. Come on! As they ran down a side tunnel, the ground trembled again. Behind them, the Guardian's voice echoed one last time. Protect the seed, descendant. If it dies, all worlds will follow. Eli and Cale disappeared into the dark passage as the walls behind them sealed. The glowing blue lights faded, leaving the chamber silent again. But outside the mine, the Draxen ships had already landed. Soldiers in black armor marched through the smoke, their red eyes scanning the ground. Their leader raised a clawed hand and hissed through his helmet, "Find the child. Find the human. The seed must not awaken." The hunt had reached the Earth's heart. The tunnel behind them rumbled like thunder. Dust fell from the ceiling and blue sparks flickered along the stone walls. Eli and Cale ran through the narrow passage, their shadows stretching long behind them. The sound of the Guardian's voice still echoed faintly. Protect the seed, descendant. Eli didn't understand any of it. Descendant, pact, seed. None of it made sense. He was just a man from a quiet town, someone who fixed machines and lived alone. But now the universe was whispering his name. They reached a small chamber lit by a strange blue light that seemed to come from nowhere. In the middle stood a tall pillar made of glass like crystal. Kyle stopped, breathing hard. This is the heart of memory, he said softly. The Guardian told us to come here. Eli looked around, uneasy. And what now? Before Cale could answer, the crystal pillar came alive. Streams of light ran up its sides, forming circles and symbols that floated in the air. The orb in Cale's hands began to hum. A soft voice filled the chamber, calm yet filled with ancient weight. You have entered the chamber of truth. Only the one bound by the pact may pass the test. Eli frowned. A test? What test? The voice replied. Your spirit must remember what your blood has forgotten. Suddenly, beams of light shot out from the pillar, wrapping around Eli like ribbons. He gasped as the air shimmered and the walls of the chamber melted away. He was no longer in the tunnel. He stood on a battlefield, alien skies burning red. Massive ships hung in the air, firing beams of light at each other. On the ground, humans and aliens fought side by side against black-armored Draxen. Eli stared in shock. What is this? A voice answered beside him. Your past. He turned and saw a man who looked just like him. Same face, same eyes, but wearing ancient armor glowing with the same light as the seed. The man smiled faintly. We were the first pact. We swore to protect the seed and defend life against the Draxen. But time erased the memory. Humanity forgot. Eli shook his head. No, this can't be real. It is, the man said. And now the pact has found you again. The scene shifted. The battle faded, and Eli saw a group of humans and aliens sealing a glowing sphere, the seed, deep underground. The Guardian stood beside them, saying words that echoed through time. When darkness returns, the seed shall awaken through one of their blood. The vision broke apart. The battlefield vanished. Eli fell to his knees, back in the cold chamber, gasping for air. Kyle rushed to him. Eli, are you all right? Eli looked up, eyes wide. I saw them, Cale. The first humans who fought beside your people. I saw myself, Cale nodded slowly. Then it is true. You are of their line. The voice of the Guardian returned, echoing softly through the air. The test is complete. You are the descendant of the first pact. The seed will answer to you now. The orb in Cale's hands floated into the air, glowing brighter than ever. It drifted toward Eli and stopped just before his chest. Will you accept the burden? The voice asked. Eli hesitated. If I say yes, what happens? You will carry the power to awaken the seed, but the Draxen will hunt you until your final breath. Eli looked at Cale. The boy's silver eyes were full of fear but also hope. He took a deep breath. Then I'll take it, the orb flashed. Energy rushed through Eli's body like fire and lightning mixed. His mind filled with whispers, voices from the past, the pact's memories, the pain and courage of 1,000 years. Kyle stepped back as the light surrounded him. Eli. When the glow faded, the orb was gone. A faint mark now shone on Eli's wrist and a glowing circle with 4 small stars. The mark of the pact, Cale said in awe. The seed has chosen you. Before Eli could speak, a loud explosion echoed from above. The walls trembled and rocks fell from the ceiling. Kyle's eyes widened. The Draxen have broken through. A deep metallic voice boomed from somewhere far away. "Surrender the child and the seed, or perish." Eli stood up, his eyes burning with determination. "I think it's time we stop running." Kale looked scared. "There are too many of them." Eli's voice was calm. "Then we fight for something bigger than both of us." The Guardian's light flickered again, forming a doorway deeper into the tunnels. "Go," it said. "I will hold them as long as I can. You carry the hope of both worlds now." Eli grabbed Kale's hand. "Come on!" They ran through the glowing doorway as the mine shook violently. Behind them, beams of red light filled the tunnels. The Guardian's deep voice roared like thunder. "You shall not pass." The explosion that followed was brighter than the sun. As Eli and Kale fell into the deeper tunnels below, the sound of battle echoed through the earth, and far above, the Draxen leader watched from his ship, his red eyes narrowing. "Now I know the human's name," he hissed. "Eli, the last descendant. Bring him to me alive." The tunnels were silent now. Only the faint echo of falling stones and the soft hum from Eli's wrist filled the darkness. The mark of the pact still glowed under his skin, warm, alive, almost breathing. Kale walked beside him, limping slightly. His silver-blue skin was dull and his glow had weakened. He carried nothing now. The orb was gone, merged into Eli. They moved through a narrow passage that opened into a wide cavern. The ceiling glittered with strange crystals that reflected blue light, painting their faces with an otherworldly glow. Eli looked around, uneasy. "How far down are we?" Kale tilted his head, listening. "Far, maybe under the mountains. The Draxen won't sense us for a while." Eli sighed with relief and sat on a rock. "Good, we need rest." Kyle sank to the ground beside him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Kyle broke the silence. "You shouldn't have taken the mark," he said softly. "It will change you." Eli looked at his glowing wrist. "It already has." Kyle's voice trembled. "You don't understand what the seed does. It doesn't just protect, it binds. It listens to your thoughts. If your heart turns dark, it will too," Eli frowned. "Then I'll make sure that never happens." Kale gave a sad smile. "Humans always say that before they break." Eli looked at him sharply, but before he could answer, the sound of heavy steps echoed from behind them. "Metallic, rhythmic, unmistakable. Draxen?" Eli whispered. Kale's eyes widened. "No, something bigger." A bright red light filled the tunnel entrance. 3 armored figures stepped out, weapons raised. But the one in the center wasn't like the others. His armor was silver black, smooth and polished, and his helmet carried a glowing red crest. Eli raised his rifle, but the leader raised a hand. "Wait." His voice was deep, calm, almost human. Kyle gasped. "That voice? I know it." The leader took off his helmet. Beneath it was a face, an older, tired, but unmistakably like Kale's. Same silver skin, same glowing eyes, though dimmer. "Father?" Kale whispered, tears forming in his eyes. Eli froze. "Your father? I thought—" "They told me he was dead," Kyle said, trembling. The Draxen leader's expression softened. "They lied, my son." He stepped closer. "Your mother and I were taken, forced to serve their war machines. We built the weapon they wanted, the one your mother tried to destroy. But it's not finished. Without the seed, it is powerless." Kale stepped forward, tears streaming down his glowing cheeks. "We thought you were gone." His father reached out his hand. "Come with me, Kale. We can end this war together." Eli stood holding his rifle steady. "How do we know this isn't a trap?" The elder alien turned his calm eyes on Eli. "Human, you carry the seed now. You are the key they want, but you cannot hold its power forever. You are flesh, it will consume you." Eli's jaw tightened. "Then I'll burn before I hand it to you." The elder sighed. "You are brave. And foolish. I don't serve the Draxen anymore, but they will destroy the earth if we do not act first." Kale looked between them, torn. "Eli, maybe he's telling the truth." Eli shook his head. "No, he's using you. The Draxen killed your mother and destroyed your home. He's one of them now." Kale's father looked pained. "You think I wanted this? They changed me. They turned me into their weapon. But I can stop it, and if you give me the seed." Eli felt the mark on his wrist grow warmer, almost pulsing like a heartbeat. He could feel the seed inside him, warning him, whispering, "He lies." Eli took a slow breath. "Kale, we need to go." Kale looked at his father, then back at Eli. His face was full of confusion and heartbreak. Eli, he's my father. Eli's voice was firm. He's also their commander. The elder raised his hand again. Please, you don't understand what's coming. The Draxen aren't just soldiers, they are the first wave. A fleet 10,000 strong is on its way to this planet. If the seed awakens, they will destroy Earth before it spreads. Eli froze. A fleet? Yes, the elder said. But if we control the seed, we can stop them. Together. Kyle took a step toward his father. If what you say is true, then let us fight them together. No more lies, the elder smiled sadly. There is no fight left, my son. Before Kale could react, the elder raised a small device in his hand. It pulsed red. The air shimmered. Kale's knees buckled. He gasped in pain as light poured from his body. Eli shouted, "Kale!" and ran forward, but invisible force threw him backward into the wall. The elder's eyes glowed brighter. Forgive me, Kale, they are watching. If I do not deliver the seed, they will kill your mother. Eli struggled to his feet, fury burning in his chest. The mark on his wrist blazed. Let him go, he shouted. The crystals on the ceiling exploded as energy burst from Eli's hand. A wave of light threw the Draxen soldiers off their feet. The elder shielded his face from the brightness. The cavern shook violently. Rocks began to fall. Kyle fell to the ground, weak, glowing faintly. His father looked at him one last time, sadness in his eyes. I'm sorry, my son. Then he vanished in a burst of red light. Eli rushed to Kale's side. Kyle, stay with me. Kale's eyes fluttered open. He has the coordinates. He knows where the seed signal will rise. Eli's face hardened. Then we stop him before he reaches it. The mark on his wrist glowed again, brighter, sharper. Somewhere far above, the Draxen fleet began to move, and in the shadows of the stars, something ancient awakened, listening, waiting for the final choice. The air was heavy with dust and silence. Eli carried Kale in his arms through the broken tunnels, his boots crunching against stone. The walls still pulsed faintly with blue light like veins under dying skin. Behind them, the earth trembled. Somewhere far above, the Draxen fleet was already moving. Kale's voice was weak, almost fading. He took the signal key, the one that leads to the seed's heart. Eli looked down. Then that's where we're going. Kyle opened his dim eyes. If he connects the seed to the weapon, it will burn the sky. Every world in its path will die. Eli's jaw tightened. Then we don't let that happen. They reached the end of the tunnel, a massive chamber with walls of shining metal. In the center stood a circular platform covered in glowing lines like a giant symbol carved into the ground. Kale pointed weakly. That's a transport gate. The Pact built them long ago. It can take us to the seed's core, if it still works. Eli placed Kale down carefully and looked around. How do we start it? Kale pressed his glowing hand against a panel. The room came alive with a deep hum. Light flowed through the floor, racing in circles until it reached the platform. Stand in the middle, Kyle said. The seed knows your mark. It will listen. Eli stepped onto the platform. His wrist began to glow again, the mark burning like fire. A pillar of blue light shot upward, wrapping around them both. The sound grew louder, a low cosmic note that made the air shake. And then, in an instant, everything vanished. They reappeared in a vast open chamber of pure light and metal. It was not a place of earth but of memory, suspended between worlds. Towers of energy reached toward a white sky that had no sun. In the distance, a dark figure stood near a glowing core, Kale's father. He was holding a red crystal device connected to the seed itself, a giant sphere of white light floating above a pit. Father, Kale shouted, though his voice was weak. The elder turned slowly. His eyes were filled with sorrow. It's too late, my son. The signal is ready. Eli stepped forward. If you activate that thing, you'll kill everything, including her. The elder hesitated. His hand trembled. They said they would spare her. They lied. Eli yelled. The Draxen don't spare anyone. They only take and destroy. Kale struggled to his feet, swaying. Father, please listen. You can still stop this. For a moment, the elder's expression softened, the face of a father remembering who he was, but then a voice echoed from the device, sharp and cold. Complete the signal, Commander, or we erase her. The elder's jaw tightened. Tears of glowing silver ran down his cheeks. I'm sorry, Kale. He pressed his hand against the control panel. The seed flared. The entire chamber shook as beams of energy spiraled upward, cutting through the clouds. The light turned red and the ground split open. Kale screamed. Eli, stop it! Eli ran forward, the mark on his wrist burning brighter than ever. The power inside him surged, wild and alive. He leaped onto the platform, slamming his hand onto the controls. The red light turned white again. Sparks flew as the seed's energy fought against the Draxen code. The air filled with thunder. Kale's father fell to his knees, clutching his head. No, it's too strong. Eli's voice roared through the chaos. Then let it end. The seed exploded in light. For a long moment there was nothing, only silence and weightless brightness. Eli opened his eyes slowly. He stood in a field of stars. Around him floated visions, fragments of the past, the pact, the guardian, the battles, the promise. A soft voice spoke beside him. Kale's voice, you did it. Eli turned. Kale stood there, glowing brighter than ever, his body no longer weak. Where are we? Eli asked. In the seed, Kale said gently. The Draxen weapon is gone. The signal was rewritten. You used your bond to change it. Eli frowned. Changed it to what? Kale smiled faintly. To a call for peace. Below them he could see the earth, blue and shining. Around it the Draxen fleet had gone still, their ships frozen in light. One by one they vanished, pulled into the void. Kale looked at him with soft eyes. The seed is returning to sleep. Its power needs balance. One must stay to guide it. Eli's chest tightened. You mean you? Kyle nodded. My kind was born from the seed's light. It will listen to me. But you must go back, Eli. Tell your people what you saw. Tell them we are not alone. Eli stepped closer. Kyle, I can't just leave you here. Kyle smiled and calm, peaceful. You're not losing me. I'll be part of the light now. When you look at the stars, you'll hear me. Eli's voice broke. You saved me. And my world. Kyle shook his head gently. No, Eli, you saved ours. The light began to fade. Kale's form turned to energy, scattering like silver dust. His voice lingered, soft and kind. They will come back one day. And when they do, you'll be ready. Eli reached out, but there was only light. When he opened his eyes again, he was lying on a hill under the morning sun. The sky was clear. The forest was silent. On his wrist, the mark of the pact still glowed faintly, proof it wasn't a dream. He looked up at the sky. For a moment, he thought he saw a faint shimmer, like a child's laugh hidden in sunlight. Eli smiled sadly. Goodbye, Kale. Far above, in the quiet space beyond Earth's clouds, a soft blue pulse flashed once, like a heartbeat in the stars. The seed was asleep. The war was over, but the last signal still whispered through the universe. Help me, human. We are not alone.